Welcome to Strip Cover Lit. I'm Adrian Fort.
And I'm Dalton Gentry.
And we're here with a special video, a celebration video. What is it, Dalton?
This is a response to last week's video.
Yes.
This is our Ask Me Anything responses.
Right.
So we are going to go through now the comments and answer the questions.
Now, just to preface this, we have not really been over these questions yet.
Nope.
We wanted this to feel as much like a live Ask Me Anything as possible.
And it was because we're ignorant with the internet. We don't know how to do a live thing.
We have no idea.
So this is fresh. Adrian.
This is as close to that as you will get, probably ever.
Here we go. Fire away.
All right. From Peter Clark, the writer, question 1. What are your ultimate dreams and goals in life? And when it's all said and done, what do you want the world to remember you by?
Damn.
Yeah. That's a big one right off the bat. Damn it, Peter.
Sustainable living, not having to work a regular job. If I could just sit at home and read and tell you that I'm writing and pretend to, and then go out and never be remembered, I'd be comfortable.
This is going to sound pretentious and awful and stupid and sophomoric. My goal for years now has been to revolutionize literature in some way. And I say that as vaguely as possible because I don't think that a true revolutionary ever really knows the effect that what they're doing will have. And I'm not there yet. I might never get there, but that's the goal.
I think just a tiny, let me plug this real quick, is 100 years from now, when somebody sits down to their literary anthology textbook, and there's a Dalton Gentry, and there's like a poem or something. Right. That's it. You've made it.
That's it.
If somebody sloughs you off, like, I'm not reading this crap, you've made it.
Well, and my goal in that has always been to answer the remembered by part. I have always said I want it to be said of my writing that someone will at some point say, have you read such and such by Adrian Fort? And their friend says, what? You mean the guy that wrote X, Y, and Z wrote such and such too? Like, I want to be that varied as an author.
Stephen King.
You basically know what Stephen King wrote.
I don't know. A lot of people are surprised.
Well, surprised that he wrote a book about a car that ate people, sure. But he writes horror. Well, okay, Green Mile and what's the other one he wrote? That was
Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank Redemption, very literary. So, okay, I'll give you that.
Anyway, next question.
From Peter Clark, question 2. What do you think the meaning of the universe and human existence is?
42. If anybody gets that reference, then I accept them as people.
I get that reference. I've never read the book.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
No, it's not.
We're not religious, either of us.
No.
So we don't believe in any divine afterlife or anything like that. I like to take a humanistic approach to things. Make good of what you have here. Be good to people, and don't be a dick.
I think the meaning of human existence is not necessarily... Here's what I'll say. I think the meaning of human existence is whatever the human defines it to mean. That's a very humanistic approach as well. For me, the meaning of life is creation.
Okay.
To create, whether that be child rearing, some people live through their children, whether that be in art, whether that be in economics and business and anything. I think it's to create. I think it's to further the experience.
Fair enough.
From Peter Clark again, question 3. What are your political parties and opinions?
I am far left-leaning liberal. I support Bernie Sanders. And again, that about sums it up.
I'm a free thinker.
Okay.
I'm not, I trend left in that I trend liberal. I do not trend Democrat.
Okay.
So, question 4. Are you both going to be the best men at each other's weddings? And what would your bachelor parties be like?
Because previously somebody asked me a relationship question in a different video. They say, what does your significant other think of this? And I realized I sound like a terrible person when I say that we really don't have any intention of getting married. We see it as like kind of a religious organization. It's just paperwork. So I don't know wedding per se. Bachelor party would be absolute and terrible debauchery because I'm needy and have a flavor for the extravagant. So I might die.
You can say it now. If you were to get married, I would not be your best man.
No, you wouldn't.
Right.
I have a very close individual who would be, and I've always said he would be. I would say you're probably going to be a groomsman because I don't really cling to a lot of people that close. But there you go.
Adrian is not the marrying type. Adrian will never be married.
When Adrian marries himself, no one will be invited to that.
I've tried to do that on Facebook. Apparently they don't let you in a relationship with myself. But as for bachelor party, I would not have one if I were getting married. That simply is not me.
That's that polar opposite thing again.
Right.
Anyway.
5, from Peter Clark the writer. Would you rather be stuck on a roller coaster with 300 upside down loops or in a bouncy castle with a bunch of screaming children for the rest of eternity?
Neither.
Would you rather? You have to pick one.
I'm terrified of heights.
You're also terrified of children.
I'm also terrified of children. I'll have to take the kids because I imagine I can just start like punting them. And I mean, there's a little bit of amusement there rather than just constant terror.
Yeah, the first thing on my mind is you did not specify which projectiles would be involved in the bouncy castle. Would I be able to have a baseball bat? Are there guns? So yeah, I'd pick the bouncy castle.
Fair enough.
Drunken Library asks, how many souls do you each have buried in your backyards or in undisclosed locations, i.e. the woods?
You silly, you don't bury souls.
That is actually one of the best parts about living in apartments, is that no one really owns the ground around.
Well, there you go.
I have moved a lot in the past 10 years, 10, 11 years. Immaterial Digression asks, if you were forming a superhero team made up of authors, who would you pick and what would their superpowers be? Maybe Adrian would want to pick supervillains.
That's actually an interesting question. That is.
It is. We should have prepped for this one.
I want Vonnegut to be my wise one who organizes everything.
Okay.
I want Hemingway to be the Incredible Hulk.
So I don't get Hemingway.
Oh, you can take Hemingway.
No, that's fine. You can take him.
And I want Sylvia Plath to be the red shirt from Star Trek.
The problem with picking the supervillains in this scenario is that in the absence of Hemingway, there is no murderous supervillain, right? They're all the Brainiac types. So I would take Bret Easton Ellis, William Faulkner, and Emily Dickinson. And we would somehow find a way to rule the world.
Carry on.
Mr. Putler Gollum asks, are you willing to do analysis of some or a few of these literary works, like War and Peace, Brothers, I never say this, Brothers Karamazov, I can never say that, Bleak House, Gargantua and Pantagruel, Decameron, Lolita, and maybe just maybe Ulysses, Finnegan's Wake, or Gravity's Rainbow.
I've always wanted to read Ulysses, but that's the one I'm terrified of.
Have you ever read any of
No.
James Joyce? He's he's terrifying.
Here's the thing, though. Yes, that's our point. We say you should read everything. You shouldn't be intimidated by anything. I think absolutely. We actually plan to do Lolita in the near future.
Right.
So there you go.
We've had talks about Lolita. The problem with things like War and Peace is we shoot on a weekly basis.
That's a lot of reading.
That would be. We're having trouble getting our way through the road, not because of its length, because of its density and meandering nature. But possibly in the future, we're looking at anything. Book Paradise asks, who answers your Twitter account, Dalton or Adrian? Who has the higher eye prescription?
We both answer Twitter. Adrian is more Twitter friendly than I am. I don't understand it. If you have been in an argument on Twitter with Adrian, you will notice that I will occasionally jump in and just like plug something to be like, oh, don't kill each other, please.
Yeah, I'm normally the Twitter guy, but Dalton gets on there.
Every now and then.
Yeah. Who has the higher eye prescription? I would bet that I have the higher prescription, but Dalton has the higher strength glasses because these are a decade old.
Yeah.
So, Steve Donahue asks, what's Dalton's Genitalia's favorite book of all time? Do Dalton's Genitalia prefer ebooks or printed books? Do Dalton's Genitalia have a favorite position? For reading, that is. Now, this harkens back to our 400 subscriber Ask Me Anything announcement video in which I said you could ask anything you wanted to about Dalton's genitalia. Steve Donahue's not just throwing that out there. I want that to be understood.
Dalton's genitalia's favorite book is probably Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut.
It can't be this. You got to think with your genitalia here.
It's Slaughterhouse-Five.
Okay.
I mean, what more do you love than that?
There is no sex in that book. We're talking your genitalia here.
Dalton's genitalia.
Show me your genitals.
I assume it would be easier to turn the pages of an ebook.
Yeah,
I've never tried.
Don't want any paper cuts. Don't want any paper cuts.
Dalton personally doesn't care. Whatever's cheaper is usually his route. What was the last question about my genitalia?
Dalton's genitalia have a favorite position for reading, that is?
No. In a chair.
In a chair? Rebel Reads asks, what characters would you like to get in a whiskey-fueled brawl with?
Characters.
Tyler Durden.
Oh, God. No.
I get Tyler Durden here.
You can have Tyler Durden.
Since you're answering all the firsts here.
You can have Tyler Durden. I would have to say probably like Ron Weasley. I think I could take him. And I don't like gingers. So.
You're picking on 8-year-olds.
Yes, I'm okay with that.
Rachel Louise Atkin asks, too many A's and S's something out of my mouth here. What is one book you think changed the world?
That's a good one.
Yeah. What is it? The Satanic Verses by, slipped my mind right now. Friends with Christopher Hitchens. Oh, wow. Salman Rushdie.
Okay.
There was actually a fatwa issued against him for writing that book. And he, I believe, still basically in custody of the state. This was in the late 80s.
Damn.
Because it's dangerous for him to go anywhere.
I'm going to take the literary cop-out here, and I'm going to say the Bible. Because we mentioned we're not religious people, but that is something you have to appreciate as a work of literature, because that redefined how people were able to access reading.
I'm not going to accept that answer. You have to do another one.
I don't know another one. I'm trying to think like
a book that changed the world.
What is more prolific than that? I mean, that defined written literature.
Maybe pick, I don't know, the one on evolution?
No. You want me to take the other route? I'm trying to play devil's advocate here.
What's more devil's advocate than a book that squashed some form of religion?
I'm going opposite of you right now.
Okay.
Next
fine.
question.
Barbara, I don't know how to say that. Zaki?
Zaki? Please let us know how you say that.
I'm so bad with names. Monse, you know how bad I am with names. What's your favorite food, movie, song, kind of people, kind of day? Dalton, what's your favorite food?
I am pretty partial to sushi, actually. Adrian?
I was going to say sushi, but since you've taken that, I'll have to say vitamins. I would quit laughing over me. I would love to be able to replace food with supplements.
We've talked about this. It's called Soylent, and I think we have to try it.
Secret ingredients, people.
Anyway.
Movie.
Damn. One of my favorite movies is the Matt Damon film Rounders. I watch that every time it's on. There's another favorite, The Pianist.
That's the one with Sam Neill in it, right?
I think so. I don't know actors' names. Adrian?
Fight Club. Song.
The Boxer. I believe it was originally Simon and Garfunkel. Mumford & Sons did a cover of it.
You hipster.
You're welcome.
My favorite song, I don't listen to music. Trying to think if I can go anywhere that would surprise people with this. The Way I Am by Eminem. I'll say that. Just because no one would have ever guessed, probably. Kind of people.
Kinds that the ones I'm not around ever.
The ones that leave me alone?
Yes.
What's your favorite kind of day? This is a really good small grouping of questions.
Favorite kind of day?
Yeah, favorite kind of day.
A day in which I do not have to work, and there is absolutely like, dreary and rainy, like I need to move to Seattle or something. I don't work, it's dreary and rainy, and I'm stuck inside because that is the only day that I get something done.
Dalton and I are completely opposite people. I like days where I just kick some form of ass. Where I wake up and I go. Yeah.
Mr.
I am more for doing more. Dalton asks, how can I do less?
Yes, that is exactly it.
Patricia Valdez. Ever thought of making a book tag from your favorite songs and matching them to books?
I don't think we have. I don't think we'd be against that, though.
But we wouldn't be against it. I would love for you to get back to us and tell us that you are making that tag instead of us.
If you develop a tag, I think we'll do it.
Sure, yeah,
absolutely.
We'll do that. Blackbird Talks Books asks, how do you guys manage to film, edit, and upload so many videos in a week? That's number one. I think I can handle this one. Basically what happens is we get together once or twice a week. We do a bunch of videos. Dalton closes down the camera. Is that the correct term?
Sure, we'll go with that.
Breaks everything down, packs it in a bag. While he's leaving, I say something to the effect of, all right, bud.
That's exactly what you say every time.
At that point, I'm pretty sure that all of the footage becomes edited by the sheer intimidation of me, by being intimidated by me. And when I close the door, that is the key that forces all of the videos to be uploaded to the correct days.
That's exactly what happens.
Two, would you consider doing some type of movie review segment? I love how you review books, so I'm curious how you would review movies. We've talked extensively between each other with making a separate channel for movies. Right now, basically time constraint is what's holding us back.
We have dabbled. We do movies every now and then. We did a review for Deadpool. So if we can fit it into our schedule, we think there's one that's really pertinent, we do it. But we would prefer to do a separate channel where we did movie reviews exclusively.
3, and tied to that, what are your top 3 movies?
Rounders, The Pianist. We've gone over those. Do you have anything to plug while I think?
I will say Fight Club, 7 Pounds, and I'll go ahead and say The Avengers. The first Avengers movie, because I'm a huge fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Marvel characters are what I grew up with. They were basically my introduction to reading. So that's what I'll go with.
Okay. I have Rounders, The Pianist, and I'm really stretching here, but I'm going to go, oh my god, Owen Wilson, Midnight in Paris.
Oh, okay.
You turned me on to that movie, and I've watched it way too many times.
Who wants to fight?
I mean, if you're into books and literature, you need to go watch Midnight in Paris right now.
It's got F. Scott Fitzgerald, Hemingway, Zelda Fitzgerald. Who else is in there?
Gertrude Stein.
Gertrude Stein. Yeah, it's definitely a treat if you are into that scene of literature. Montse, every time I see your name, I want to say Montserrat. It goes back to my 1 year of German, or French. Let's see here. Let's get the obvious one out of the way. What are your go-to brand of whiskey and cigars?
That is not an obvious one. There is a spectrum of whiskeys.
Carry on.
If it's just a day after work and I'm just going to have a scotch or something, Johnny Walker Black or green. I like green a lot. If I'm going to drink whiskey to taste and enjoy it, Blanton's single barrel bourbon. A little more pricey, but I love it. If I'm going to drink because I don't want to feel tomorrow, Wild Turkey American Honey or a lot of Fireball.
I basically, as far as whiskey goes, I take whatever's on the bottom shelf and I run with it. I'm not against trying any type of whiskey. I like Jack Daniels, despite the fact that the Poptimist, David the Poptimist, absolutely smashed me for that opinion.
You're welcome.
Old Crow, basically Jim Beam. A lot of the I'm not a big fan of the flavored stuff like Jim Beam honey. Jim Beam honey is all right. Jack Daniel's honey is all right. That's only if you're gonna mix them. Like I'm not a big fan of drinking them. But that's as far as whiskey goes. Those are the ones for me. Anything on the bottom shelf.
Since you've insulted the whiskey world, I'll insult the cigar world. One of my favorite cigars, one Adrian bought for me, was a Maker's Mark cigar. We went to a cigar shop and mentioned that one day, and the guy just looked at us. He's like, "You don't mix whiskey and cigars unless they're separate. You don't mix them." So my bad.
Since I have already insulted the whiskey world and Dalton insulted the cigar world, I'll go ahead and say Factory Milds as well. Because sometimes you just need a cigar, okay? You just need a cigar and you gotta go. And that's Factory Milds. What is your biggest regret? What is your biggest fear? Okay, we'll take these one by one. What is your biggest regret?
Probably not doing as much as I should have done.
With the first 25 years of your life?
Yes.
I regret waking up sometimes, but besides that, what is your biggest fear?
Legitimately, I have a weird fear of failure, as lazy as I am. Like, I will scramble and do everything to make sure it is accomplished.
Just a very minimal degree.
Small, tiny fears. I don't do heights. I don't do spiders. I don't do lizards and reptiles. That's it.
My biggest fear is suffocation of some sort. Like choking to death, being smothered, like drowning. Those are the big ones for me.
I actually almost drowned once when I was a kid.
Really?
It's a very disorienting experience. We'll get back to that.
Where was it?
I was at a pool at an apartment complex, and I had a smaller child like on my shoulders. I was like walking around, and you know how pools like ledge down? My foot hit that, and I just went to where the point the kid was still above water but holding me under, and I couldn't get out. And at a point, you really just kind of accept it. And I remember like beating on my chest, like trying to like force air into me. And a guy actually swam over and just like picked me up because I was tiny and just like brought me into life. And it's like passing out when you wake up. You don't really understand where you are, what's going on, but terrifying nonetheless.
I bet.
Anyway,
do we have free will?
Yes.
I would say, as far as what is considered to be free will, is no. But we have free will in any appreciable sense. I am getting this basically from Sam Harris's Free Will. Basically, for you to have free will, you have to realize you're going to do something before you ever think it. So that does not make sense. The thought has to appear to you, you have to think something before you think it. Right? Because thinking is just the synapses firing in your brain.
Yeah.
So it's a weird question. It's a lot weirder than it sounds on the surface.
We did mention we talked about doing a separate channel for movies. We've also talked about branching off into philosophy.
Right.
So that would be something we'd be tackling.
Yeah. Do we have free will? What is knowledge, and what's the best kind? Good versus evil, is there such a thing?
Knowledge, that's really hard to define, actually. Acquisition of, you want to say knowledge. So I think that's very difficult to define in a brief segment. Good versus evil. I want to say that I take a humanistic approach to things. I used to think people were inherently good. Given the nature of the business that I work in now, which is law enforcement, no, there are people who are just horrible things.
I think that something that is boiling underneath this question is the differentiation between knowledge and intelligence.
Okay.
Knowledge is a series of tools. That's what knowledge is. Intelligence is the ability to acquire those tools. So what's the difference between... So what's the best kind? I think that the best kind of knowledge is any type of knowledge which is applicable.
Okay.
That is not to say that applicable knowledge is the only kind of knowledge that is good, because like on this channel we don't deal much with applicable knowledge, we deal with knowledge of books, but intelligence is the underwriting theme, which is the ability to acquire those tools.
Okay.
Good versus evil, is there such a thing? Yes, I think that there are absolutely blacks and whites as far as morality go, but it is through the gray that we get to that black or that white. Lastly, if you want to, why is there something rather than nothing?
Again, we have talked about creating a philosophy channel and a deep thinking channel.
See, hold on. This is beautiful though, because I enjoy the fact, the realization of knowing that people are watching our channel and being intellectually stimulated and saying, I want to know these guys' opinions on these things, right? Carry on.
There has to be something rather than nothing. That's such a deep question. I mean, there has to be something. This is all something. So there was some spark of existence at one point. Follow evolutionary theory, it's got us here. And basically, we ride on the coattails of hoping this doesn't just implode and stop existing at any second.
See, I think that the very grammar of the question is not necessarily faulty, but is begging a question. Richard Dawkins talks about this a lot. Just because a question is grammatically sound does not necessarily mean that it makes sense. Why is there something rather than nothing might not make sense as much as how is there something rather than nothing. If you want a true answer of how there is something rather than nothing, Lawrence Krauss's book, Something from Nothing, Something from Nothing, I think is what it's called. That's he took a mighty whack at it in that one.
That's a hard question to answer, though. Really is.
Wolf 1068 asks, if you were going to watch a movie based on a book, do you like to read the book first or watch the movie then read the book?
Absolutely read the book first.
This is a hell of a question, though.
I think you have to accept them as separate entities. They're two different types of entertainment. A good book can make a bad movie, a bad book can make a good movie. Because they're two separate things. But if I'm given a choice that, oh, this is coming out soon, it's based on this book, I'll pick up the book.
I will say that if I had seen the movie of The Martian before I read the book, I would not have had any questions about the book.
Yeah?
I would not have wanted to read it.
Okay.
Not for better or worse, just for, okay, I've got that experience now.
Yeah.
Right? If you take something, I've mentioned it probably every day of my life, Fight Club. The book and the movie, as well as American Psycho, the book and the movie each do best in their medium what that story allows, what that story necessitates, and what those characters are. So I don't think that there is a correct answer here. I would say that my original answer is probably not the greatest, because I don't think that either experience should debilitate you from the other, but sometimes it does. JMR 7418 asks, what will the next book series that you will be doing chapter to chapter review? Lord of the Rings and ASOIAF? Ice and Fire? Something?
A Song of Ice and Fire.
A Song of Ice? Okay, hopefully.
We haven't really talked about this much because there are still
35 books in the Harry Potter series.
I wouldn't object to doing Lord of the Rings because I'm very partial to that series. I think there's a lot of literary merit to that. A Song of Ice and Fire, I think, would be very popular. But that's a lot of reading.
It's a 1,200-page book, I think, something like that.
And there's like 9 of them. I don't know. Yeah. I haven't read them personally.
I wouldn't be against it.
No, I don't think we can be against anything on that, but we'll definitely keep that in mind.
I think that would be, like, with Harry Potter, we're taking it 3 chapters at a time. I think with, that's Game of Thrones, right?
Yes.
I think with Game of Thrones, those books are so big, we'd almost have to do it a chapter at a time.
Possibly.
Because those chapters must be 40 pages. Or if they're, maybe they're not. Maybe they're quick chapters, but there's just
I couldn't object to either. They're both good fantasy series. One's a classic, one's very modern. I think they would both be great options to do that.
I think maybe we'll work one in concurrently with Harry Potter.
We could consider
start
doing that.
Maybe we will skip a Harry Potter for a book.
Absolutely not. Next question.
John C. asks, have you read a sentence that starts with but or and thought it could be improved?
I think reading anything, whether it starts with but or and, it runs through your mind, especially if you're reading to critique, it could be improved. If they do start with but or and, then absolutely yes, I'm going to say it could be improved.
I think you're too conventional, Dalton. I think that Ezra Pound's Cantos starts with the word and.
Yes.
Not that was great, but
see, it could have been improved.
Right, but the very ness of that piece starts with the word and. Now, if you because it starts midstream.
If you want to talk conventional writing, you can write whatever you want. As long as it works for the piece, it works. Now, if it could be changed to improve the piece, then it should be changed. But if it works, it works.
Okay. Are there any, or 2 from John C., are there any musicians who wrote lyrics that strike you as poetic as anything Pound Bukowski could have written?
Absolutely.
Go on.
I enjoy some music from the 60s and 70s because that is me. And I think there was a lot of lyrical poetry in that point in time. I do also get into a lot of musical theater, so when someone says song, I think theater, which is inherently literature. So yeah, absolutely could it be considered poetry.
As far as fun with words goes, Eminem is amazing. As far as simile goes, whoever it is that writes for Lil Wayne is amazing. I think that Freddie Mercury, his lyrics will live forever.
We've mentioned Tupac Shakur a lot.
Yeah.
When we talk about poetry specifically.
That Tupac Shakur is very Bukowski, I would say. Very, very gritty, very in your face, very now.
And that is someone who is both a poet and a musician, and his works cross quite a bit.
Right.
So, absolutely.
Chris Cornell. I have been a very big fan of Chris Cornell. Number 3. What are your respective heights, weights, and times in the 100-meter dash? Insider info for when I put money down on the boxing match.
I've never timed a 100-meter dash, nor do I understand the concept of how long that is. I don't... Adrian?
I'm 5'7". I'm 210 to 220 pounds of pure fury.
Yes.
And I don't know my current time in the 100-meter dash, but it's faster than Dalton's.
I am 6 foot, 220. I've never timed a 100-meter dash, but I do smoke like a chimney, so I imagine I could probably... the 1-meter dash, I've got that one down. I'm pretty good at that. I will plug, though, I am 99% sure I have, like, worlds of reach on Adrian, so I just have to keep distance.
I've got freakishly long arms for my height.
I do, too.
Put them out shoulder to shoulder. Look at that.
See, I've got reach.
I am 5'7". You are 6 foot. What is the difference in our reach?
You have awkwardly long arms.
Okay, just admit it.
Adrian is a tiny person, though. Carry on.
You can kiss an ass. Carissa Hudgens, would you rather only be able to read from the YA genre for the rest of your life, or never be able to read anything new, only rereading books that you have read in the past for the rest of your life?
I'll reread.
I'd have to pick rereading because I can't stand YA.
I'll reread every day of the week.
My answer, yeah, I will reread.
We've talked about that a lot. You have to reread works. And if you can reread a work and find something different every time, it's worlds better than just reading trash.
Right, and I've got a decent library of things that I've already read.
Not that there is some merit in the young adults.
Right, yeah, I'm not completely discrediting
You don't want to dismiss them at all, but I think that the way it's directed towards that. So yeah, I'll reread.
Well, YA is a genre.
Yes.
Right? It's like, would you rather... You're a big fan of sci-fi.
Yeah.
Would you rather only read sci-fi the rest of your life or reread?
I'd still reread.
Right. Patricia Valdez, again. I notice you read a lot of American writers, but have you ever thought of reading... Wait, hold on, I messed up. I notice you read a lot of American writers, but have you thought about reading other writers from different countries? If you have, what are your favorites?
Again, we say read whatever is available. We do kind of pick and choose what we want to read specifically. We did a segment on Junot Diaz, who is not an American author and is very prolific in another country. Have we considered reading any others?
We've got some Russians scheduled for the channel.
Lolita's coming up. We've talked about doing Three Sisters, Chekhov. I mean, there's no objection to just... I mean, it's not like we're just saying, oh, we're only doing American lit. It is literally just us sitting down and be like, well, we should read this.
Amy from the Dusty Bookshelf has suggested several Canadian writers that I think we should get around to. I've done some reading. I've read a lot of Russian short stories. Tale of Genji comes to mind from the eastern part of the globe. But yeah, we've dabbled in other things. I don't know that we are necessarily well versed enough to be able to make things out of stories from different cultures. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Podcast book review. Would you rather die saving 10,000 strangers from death knowing no one would ever know it was you, or live knowing everyone would know you decided not to save 10,000 people's lives?
Survival of the fittest. I don't care what you think.
Really?
Yeah.
Even at that level?
Let's go back to the cruise. Women and children first. There's one lifeboat left. 10,000 people on board, and a guy says, would you like on?
No,
All right.
That's not the question. The question is, there's a 10,000 person lifeboat. You can take it alone, or you can watch it sail away.
More room for me.
See, I have a low enough opinion of myself and a high enough opinion of humankind that I'd pull the trigger and save them, because pull the trigger and save, like my suicide would be what saved it. But maybe because I have to believe that in 10,000 people, the sheer power of numbers would state that there's someone in that group that will accomplish things for humankind greater than I ever would.
I just would be really excited for the headlines, you know. Man kills 10,000 sailing in life raft alone. Just a picture of me on the front.
Waving.
Lazy.
Valentine's Week asks, if you had to pick one book to bring to a desert island, which one would it be?
Ooh.
I'm going to try not to say Fight Club.
I'm going to try not to say, like, how to build a raft. I don't know.
The collected short stories of Ernest Hemingway.
That'd be a good choice. That would.
There's enough stories in there, and they are, the breadth of them is great.
I would try to steer away from saying just a lit anthology, because you always have something different.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay.
I'm done.
Johnny B, what is the worst piece you have ever written or read, and why was it so bad?
The worst piece that I have ever written tends to be everything that I have ever written. So I'm just going to go with that. I'm very self-critical of my own works. Ever read, I'm not sure. That's kind of harsh.
No, it's not.
And nothing's really like coming to mind. I'm like, I can't.
Dogs of Babel by Carolyn Parker.
The Dogs of Babel was a fine read. I can't think of anything specifically right now.
For me, Inverted Forest. I can't remember the author's name. I'm looking around for the book right now. I've got books all over my apartment. But that was just the worst thing I've ever read. The worst thing I've probably ever written and finished was, I started a writer's group during a summer. And our challenge was to write a story every week. And during the summer, we got 3 passes to revise. it was just 3 of us, and we did it. I mean, we had a story every week, but the very first story I wrote was just awful. It was just awful. It was a commentary on werewolves as well as the family structure.
If you get an opportunity to go for a lit degree, there will be a point in your life where you are handed someone else's paper that they clearly did not put any work into, and you will have to read it and critique it. And that is what's coming to mind right now.
Oh, yeah.
Is, I turn in a 10-page paper that I put a lot of work into, and I'm given a 1-page, like a half-page paper where you spelled the word woman wrong in a feminist class. And that's what I have to critique. That is the worst writing.
Dalton, what 10-page paper did you put a lot of work into?
I put a lot of work into Siebler's class for one reason. That woman terrified me. Everything I turned in was pandering to her and hoping she wouldn't stab me.
These are the reasons I hate you.
I have a portfolio of Gloria Steinem that I can just bring if you'd like to read sometime.
Sue from the restricted section asks, Dalton, how that dang thing hang? How that dang thing hang when that dang thing hang? So good.
Yes. I don't understand this question. Dalton's genitalia is a very popular topic this week. I don't know how to gracefully put this.
How's it hanging? That's what. Just answer the question.
It's great.
We're done here.
Okay.
We're done here.
This was fun.
It was.
Maybe we'll consider doing this again. If you do have any unanswered questions, shoot us a direct message on Twitter @StripCover.
Yeah.
We usually get back to you on there. And make sure you hit that subscribe button as well.